Here we go, guys. Which former UFC champion and Ultimate Fighter winner has had the best overall career? Here are your choices: Michael Bisping, Rashad Evans, Tony Ferguson, Forrest Griffin. I want to emphasize that they were all former TUF champions of their season, and they were also a UFC champion at one point or another. Bisping, Evans, Ferguson, Griffin. Goes.
It's between Bisping and Rashad for me, and I ended up going with Rashad, and it's not as easy as Rashad beat Bisping. I looked at some of the things that they've done outside. They both coached on The Ultimate Fighter. They've both made it to the Fox desk at some point. They've done a lot of things, but if you look at the caliber of opponents that Rashad beat, he beat 2 generations of fighters, right? He has a victory over Chuck Liddell, who owned that division for a long time.
A prime
Liddell. He took him out. And then even further on in his career, he's got some pretty good ones against Dan Henderson, Phil Davis, Tito Ortiz, Quentin Jackson. Those are some pretty good names there. I went with Rashad, but by a hair.
Dan Tom?
You know, the guy's not going to get a lot of love as Tony Ferguson on this, and if not for the knee injury, he would still have this card stacked against him. He's in one of the deepest divisions to try to make a name for yourself. But you want to talk about killers for a run or an underrated run. Perhaps another day we can talk about Tony Ferguson, but I got to co-sign with Goes as far as Rashad Evans. As far as the story goes, you know, I love Michael Bisping's story. He was my fighter of the year, the same year that our own Mike Bond made him fighter of the year. I agreed, co-sign there, but I think Rashad Evans for the strength of schedule, the multi-divisions, you know, I think 3 total divisions he competed in and won under championships under one, and an Ultimate Fighter title under another. And yeah, Rashad Evans for me.
Well, then it's complete. I'm also going with Rashad Evans. I do take into account that he beat Michael Bisping. I mean, that's an overall career, and that's part of his career. And I thought his wins at the top, at his peak, just were a little bit more impressive to me than when Michael Bisping's biggest wins were taking it from Rockhold out. You know, it was an upset according to the odds makers, but it was a solid punch with some follow ground and pound. A really, really tight decision out there for
Henderson.
For Henderson, you know, so those were the fights that revolved around his title reign, and then he lost the one to GSP and Gastelum, and all those other fights just kind of got lumped up in just a very solid career that had. He broke some records along the way. He was very durable, very marketable. But Rashad sold over 1 million pay-per-views one time. He at one point was a pay-per-view star, along with being a champion, and a champion who took out some of these legends in very devastating fashion. So that, along with the head-to-head, he also took out Forrest Griffin too. So I go with Rashad Evans, but surprisingly goes, and Dan Tom, Michael Bisping was a landslide winner.
Wow.
2,234 votes came in. 66% of those went to Michael Bisping. In second place, Tony Ferguson, who I believe is 13-1 in the UFC, acquired the interim lightweight title, so he has won a belt, and so he's had an impressive record and gotten the title. But
Time's on his
was
side.
never. He's got time on his side, but he was never the undisputed champ, and he also doesn't have any title defenses. 16% for him, and then 10% for Rashad Evans, 8% for Forrest Griffin. It could be that this younger generation that's probably doing a lot of these votes, they just may not even remember Evans versus Liddell. That was 2008, if I'm not mistaken. All right, there you have it. That's today's Daily Debate, brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio Crew.